So I just know that being in training camp, and Scott can speak to this as well as I can about how there's a lot of bravado with this coaching staff talking about it's about, we have to all be accountable and like, the players have to be accountable. It's all good to talk tough. But what I'm saying is that I don't know if it's resonating with the players yet. See, he's a new coach, but you still have holdovers from Eberflus. And I just feel like some of those players might be rolling their eyes at a first year head coach. The first time and first year head coach does not always get respect. And if you start off 0-2, it makes you wonder whether or not that message is resonating. I would say the same thing with the defensive coordinator as well. That same DC, by the way, they won't take Scott's questions about the game previous. He won't talk about the Detroit game because he's already moved on. This is who he is now. He just wants to just move on. So I just think that you can come in, pounding your chest, talking about how tough things are going to be. But man, that's just a huge change that's got to happen at House Hall. They got to get the guys that they want because some of those Eberflus guys, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are just kind of like, okay, all right, I know we got to do these things, but I still do things my way. Tyreek Stevenson.
Yeah, Tyree Stevenson need to do things the other way, like actually defend the wide receiver in front of you and not be getting whooped all up and down the field. I think, Jay, that's perfect segue into the first topic I wanted to get into, and that's talk about the culture in the locker room with these players and things like that. And, a lot of these guys are Eberflus guys. When you look at the locker room, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way before any of the players watch this. I know some of y'all do. When I say that y'all are soft, I don't mean like you soft as in you can't fight. I mean as in not soft losers is what I mean. That's what I mean. I was trying to do. And not in the way, oh, you're a loser. No, you literally haven't won anything is what I mean by that. There's only two winners in that locker room. Joe Tooney has won a couple Super Bowls with Kansas City. TJ Edwards had a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Kevin Byard has been to a couple playoff games. Shemaine Edmonds has been to a couple playoff games. Outside of that, nobody else has won anything on this roster. So if they are, not taking what Ben is saying the right way or don't want to listen to them, to me, that says more about them than it says about Ben. And Bang said this on Monday morning show that really I didn't think about till he said it, but now I can't stop thinking about it. Is Ben might be saying that, oh, we can win this season, but it might be kind of a la Jimmy Johnson his first year with Dallas, where he's looking like, how many of y'all are actually going to be on this team next year? We're going to weed out who on this roster is going to be around. So, and then you've also got this rumor, which I personally think is BS because, I don't believe random accounts on Twitter, but saying that, oh, well, he's going to be telling Ryan Poles who to draft. Like, and is there like a power struggle? So what's your thought on the culture of the Bears? Do you think Ben is seeing who he's going to cut, who's going to be here next year?
I think it's collaborative. I don't like the narrative like Ryan Poles is not generally managing the team though, because he's still a GM in place, even though he has done a substandard job of building this roster. But I want to make sure it's clear, Scott Bang, that you have to understand why Ben Johnson's here. It's not just necessarily to be the head coach, but to fix the offense first, because his expertise is to be able to be an offensive coordinator and fix the offense first. So the notion that he's in here to be the offensive coordinator and he's going to change the culture and be the head coach, he's never done that before. No, so he's learning how to be a head coach. Now that offensive playbook, he knows that chapter and verse because he helped Jared Goff turn his career around. But the belief that Ben Johnson comes in like a Benny Rooster with his head up and talking about how we don't have championship practice habits. Okay, well that's your job. That's your job. You have to be able to get those champion. And by the way, when you say championship habits, how would you know? How would you know? You were with a couple of really successful Lions teams, but I don't see no Lombardi in Detroit. So I guess that's the whole point. Like, I know what he's looking for, but he has to be the one to lead it. I think that's fair.
That is very fair, 100%. It's kind of like, I feel like when it comes to saying championship habits, you do have to have a championship in order to say that. It's kind of like when, Charles Barkley go up there and say how the team should win a championship, but you don't have a Shaq up here telling him that you ain't got a championship and to Google him every 2 seconds. So I feel like there's got to be a little bit with that as well. So maybe maybe they don't have playoff habits, but I do feel like there's big front running energy in the Chicago Bears locker room. Like they to me the debates about stuff is stupid. Like, you got Jaquan Brisker on Twitter basically alluding to the fact that he's not being used right. My brother, get through a whole season without a concussion first before we start worrying about who's getting used the right way. You know what I'm saying? I like DJ. I'm a huge DJ guy. You know what I'm saying? I've interviewed DJ about 3 times right now. This little cool Arthur meme hands in the pocket shit is got to stop, okay? Like, stop trying to be cool all the time, bro. You shouldn't have to be called out for blocking by 2 coaches now. When Flus did that last year, it was all Flus' bad coach, da-da-da-da-da-da. But now when Ben says it, we want to take it as gospel. Maybe that's just who DJ is. That's got to stop. And that's real. DJ knows nothing but what we're seeing with the Bears. He played for the Panthers, bro. Like, he knows nothing but pain. And then you've got Jalen Johnson, and I love Jalen Depp. I'm going to do Stephen A. all show. I love him. Jalen, good dude. Get off podcast, bro. Like, I heard him on the pivot, and he's like, we got to get on the same page with winning. Who said that? There shouldn't be a page to get on with winning. I went to London almost 12 months ago. Y'all have won 1 game since I boarded the flight at Heathrow Airport when me and this man Dante was taking shots because we thought it was the beginning of a new era. Y'all won 1 game. So I don't want to, that to me makes me think that, there's a lot of guys here that got to go.
I was hoping that you were quoting Stephen A. talking sports. I was thinking, no, don't quote Stephen A. on that. I'm glad it was sports, by the way. Thank you.
I'm not out here.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Patreon, Scott. Patreon.
Thank
I'm
you.
about to say something.
Patreon. We can't get that for free? We can't get those POTUS thoughts for free? No? Okay.
I had a heavy lecture before this show went on, so I'm trying to get better today.
Yeah. The same conversation you had with me, had with him.
So so Bang, I'm gonna give you the floor because you're the one who pointed this out on Monday. Do you think there's a culture issue that is coming up right now?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I asked Hood that question, because I watch Hood's face when he talks about Ben Johnson and that coaching staff. And this week was the first week that I was like, man, maybe it's something that's off. And this is also why during that preseason game against Kansas City, on the way that he responded to a preseason game against the AFC champions and how everybody played, that's why I kind of looked at that kind of funny. Like, there's one thing to hold people accountable, but there's another thing to throw people under the bus. And I kind of felt like that's what that was. There's one thing and there's another thing, or at least throwing people under the bus according to that team. This is also why I said that, to me, the biggest question this year is Ben Johnson. Because if Ben Johnson, who Ben Johnson is, he's hired to come in to do something, he's going to do it. But also how Ben Johnson reacts if the season starts slow is going to tell a lot. And him coming out and saying, the team is not practicing at a championship level. If I'm a player on that team, like, bro, how many championships you got? Like, what is a championship level to you? Like, yeah, you might have coached around people that had championships, but Miami ain't win no championship. Shit, last time I checked, them Miami teams ain't really go nowhere. And yeah, you was an NFC champion. You was like a couple of drives away from going to the Super Bowl, but you don't have that. And quite honestly, to me, and again, I like Ben. I think Ben is going to be great. But you don't say the team is not practicing at a championship level after 2 weeks. Nobody's practicing at a championship level in 2 weeks. I don't care how good you are. Nobody is crisp in moving around. So it's like a lot of coach speak for no reason at all, which makes me worried about what happens when the team starts slow. So when you go into this Dallas game, if the offense does not perform at an elite level against a terrible defense, there's going to be more, to me, and for me, there's going to be more questions around Ben than it is around anything else, because this is a team that you should score 30 on. This is a team that Caleb should have more than 210 yards. This is a game where the offense should look good. If you lose 41-40. But you come out of the game saying offense did look good though. There's going to be more questions around Ben than anything else because how he's communicating.
And I'll say this before I want to give the floor to Courtney because I had a question for her with this. So what I said this on 79 Highlights yesterday, by the way, on Patreon right now. Me and Dante did a full deep dive into this game. I said the first week of the week 1 press conference, so the Wednesday week 1 press conference, and Ben spoke. That was, you talk about confidence, Hood, that we saw during camp. That was the least confident I've seen him in the 9 months that he's been here. And maybe I didn't say it on the show that week because I thought maybe I'm reading too much in the body language. But he looked like, oh, these guys aren't ready. Like I wish I had about 2 or 3 more weeks of camp. And you know, when they asked him about what Caleb's stats should look like, he was like, we just gotta win the game. It feels like he knows these aren't the guys that need to win. But at the same time, he also got to understand, like you said, Bang, about it's a different media market. Like I think the only media market is probably rougher than Chicago is New York, maybe a Philly or something like that. I don't know. But we're in that top 3 at worst. We're not, especially with the Bears. The Bears media are not going to let you off the hook, no matter how badly you want to move on to the next game. If you come out here and you lose to the Dallas Cowboys at home, 0-3, and you're getting ready to go to Vegas, you can't just move on to the next phase. You can't get snippy with the media. You got to answer these questions. You've been a highly touted coaching prospect for the last 2 years. So I'm really interested to see how it will be like that. Now, Courtney, you had a great Bears rant this morning, which means you are fully in the fandom now. What do you feel about Ben Johnson and a couple of things he said this week? And do you think he didn't expect the bumpy road that he's getting right now?
I mean, I think he should have expected it, right? Whenever you come into a new organization and you try to overhaul the regime that was, in place before, there are going to be struggles because there are holdovers, right? You can't just assume that people are going to automatically buy into whatever you're selling. And again, as we've all mentioned, right? You haven't, no disrespect, you have not done anything to deserve and to demand the I can't say respect, right? You're the head coach. Of course, that deserves a certain level of respect. But you haven't won any Super Bowls, sir. Yes, you are responsible for Jared Goff, and his career still being alive today. But no, I feel like sometimes, and again, I feel like maybe you got to kind of fake it till you make it a little bit, though, right? Like you kind of have to believe your own, pardon the expression, you have to believe your own BS to a degree. And if Ben Johnson is saying that
I believe my own BS every morning, so I agree.
As you should, because who else will, right? But no, 100%. I mean, if your head coach is saying that the practices aren't championship caliber, pardon me, I don't have the exact quote. Well, first off, isn't that your job? Like it's quite literally your job to make sure that the practices are looking, are running the way you want it to run. Lovie Smith wasn't he noted for having insane practices? Yeah. Again, I don't have all the history.
Back when you could run 2 a days. Lovie also had a hard time in his first year too. Now, before you go, I want to answer this comment real quick before I forget it. It says, to be fair, he got pretty damn close to Super Bowl. Could have won if his defense didn't get 34 drops on his. BS probably should say that.
I got pretty close to Regina Hall.
Hold on. In the words,
Regina Hall.
In the words of Lamar Park legend Moesha Mitchell, almost does not count. Okay, I do not want to hear that. What's in my almost? Yeah, I almost told Rihanna how much I loved her when I was at her birthday party a couple years ago. That don't mean I did it. Okay, that means nothing. But go ahead, Courtney. My bad.
No, all that just to say, I feel like if you don't want to buy into the culture that this man, who, yes, he has not won a championship, but again, he has gotten pretty close. If we're going to go there, he has gotten pretty close. And regardless of how you feel, he is your head coach. Buy into the program or get the hell out. Like you're getting paid too much money as a player to not buy in. And don't you want to win? Have some pride. don't you want to win? Don't you want to be successful? It's often said that practice, oh, you're just running through the motions at practice. How can I be sure that that's going to, how can I assume that that same level of effort or lack thereof won't translate into the games, which, I mean, they're 0-2 right now. So clearly there's something to it.
Courtney, you know what's crazy? I want to make sure that you remember this. Ben Johnson took the job as head coach for the Bears without seeing Hallis Hall. Hallis Hall could have been in lower whacker, and he still took it anyway. It's amazing. Like, it just shows you, like, there's no way that any of us would take a job without seeing the place first, right? Where am I working? He wanted to be a head coach so bad that he was like, I don't need to see the weight room. I don't need to just let me in there and just coach ball. We also have to make sure that we understand that there are no, when you first take a job, Scott, there are no, like, great jobs in the NFL. The reason why you got a job is because usually your team is terrible. Right. So there are no like plum jobs at the top of the food chain in the NFL. Be like, here's a job for you. And the team is ready to go. Well, I mean, even with all the changes that were made in the offseason, still Ben Johnson has work to do to try to change that culture and change the team so it can be better than what it has been under Eberflus. So like, just remember, you take a job, any of these sports, you take a job, usually that job's bad and it's up to you to change it.
May I ask something to actually both of you guys? From what you've seen so far, just because, again, y'all are around the organization as often as you are, you have access that the rest of us don't. From what you've seen so far, do you think that Ben Johnson and his staff are building something sustainable? Like, if you could even maybe just like take are there positives that you feel like you can take away, or do you feel like it's same old Bears?
As I have the fortunate pleasure and sometimes unfortunate pleasure because it's a long ass drive to be there once a week. Yes, I do. I don't think the right people are in there to run what he wants to run yet. But I think that if you give me like the floor plan to build a house, this plan looks good. Now, whether or not they use the right materials to build the house is anybody's guess. But I do like the blueprint that has been given. We just got to see how it looks out now.
Catch I'm Not Gonna Hold You, hosted by Scott Lewis, every Monday and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, only on HNB Media and the Barbershop Network.